Greetings, fellow men of culture. As always, I'm broadcasting live from the peak of Thundercock Mountain. The video game industry as a whole has been in a steep downward trajectory in many different aspects for years now. Dozens of releases have been as disappointing as my kids were when they woke up on Christmas morning to find their only gift was a giant glossy turd in the bathtub. Just like with every other hobby or creative endeavor, once video games hit the mainstream, the industry attracted threat-level midnight amounts of private equity and greedy shareholder interest, each one desperate to thrust their tiny dicks in grandma's pie. Just like with the world's largest blanket fort, once you hit the mainstream, it's time to pull the plug.
You made the front page!
You know what this means? We've gone mainstream. Initiate Protocol Omega.
All the normies and tourists flood into your thing and start making changes to their personal taste and worldview instead of genuinely trying to join in. There's been murmurs of a video game industry crash for years now. I always dismiss these things as fear-mongering, like when people tell you putting a carrot in your ass makes you gay, but we're a little over halfway into 2026 at the time of writing, and it seems the entire industry is rocketing towards collapse faster in the past 6 months than it has for the last 4 years. Nearly all of these problems began at some point in the last decade, and we're seeing the culmination of all these terrible decisions reach critical and shitification at the same time. Now, not only do I believe the industry is headed for a crash, I actually think it's a good thing. Maybe not for the likes of Sony, EA, and Ubisoft, but for actual gamers that love the medium. Really quick, I want to thank this video's sponsors, my channel members. Truly appreciate your belief in the channel. Your support helps me keep things going. Also, if you want a cool t-shirt, check out the store. There's no single reason my favorite hobby is currently in the dumpster along with all the unwanted babies. There are several different factors all contributing to declining quality and a nearly unavoidable industry collapse. Some of these problems are doing epic collabs with others. First of which is the budgets. I haven't seen money mismanaged this badly since I invested in XOXY, a dating app to hook up with your cousins. None of the potential users knew how to read. Video game budgets have ballooned to Hollywood movie levels, but without the mass appeal of your typical summer blockbuster. The amount of resources that the typical AAA game requires just to break even, let alone make a profit, requires publishers and developers to take part in all sorts of anti-consumer bullshit. Quality goes way down as companies are under constant crunch to push out whatever they have done by the unmoving deadline set by shareholders, leading to a disappointing experience for players. Development cycles are so long that it's not worth getting excited for any announcements, since most games are 4 or more years away from their release after being revealed. That's not counting the time it takes to actually finish development over the few months after the game actually comes out. Microtransactions out the shit pipe, including skins and XP boosts in single-player games. Live service elements appear in everything now, employing psychological tactics to keep players logging in to maintain high performance metrics. The customers expected to pay more money to gain access to a hamster wheel, and they can run and eventually end up in some shareholder's ass. Game stability and balance patches can take several weeks, while in-game stores are never down for a single second. The genuine love and desire to create something amazing for customers has been diminished to the very bottom of the priority list. Customer satisfaction comes second to creating a vehicle for recurring payments, all to appease greedy shareholders who have never played a video game in their entire lives. The second problem on my gay little list is the ship of Theseus. In case you aren't familiar, the Ship of Theseus is a thought experiment created by Al Gore that questions whether something remains the same if all of its individual components are changed over time. If every single plank of wood on a boat is replaced as needed, would you have the same boat when the final piece is replaced? Or do you have a disgusting, sexy Frankenstein's monster with the original identity completely gone? When it comes to video game studios, the latter is true. All you have to do is look at some of the recent embarrassing flops from once beloved studios. BioWare has released some of the best CRPGs ever made. Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, Mass Effect, and the original Dragon Age. Their track record of quality releases was consistent enough to earn their customers' trust to keep making good games. But they slowly got Theseus'd. The people that made Mass Effect, BioWare's best series in my opinion, are no longer at the company, and they haven't been for a long time. As these developers left, the new hires that replaced them lacked a single poop stain of talent of their predecessors, which didn't even matter anyway, since these developers weren't hired to make good games. They were hired to change the culture. This is true of dozens of studios that used to make quality stuff. The true passion for game development got replaced with an entire generation of employees that actively despise video games and those that play them. This attitude is reflected in the awful quality of their work. Writing rooms were filled with blue and pink-haired activists desperate to insert their piddly-ass problems into all of their work, leading to eye-rolling, cringe-inducing characters and writing.
Alright, quick gigging! Quick gig! I just tell him.
Holy shit, dude. Is this what things have become?
Okay.
These writers should go on strike to get paid better.
Character creators got body type A and B options instead of what they actually are. Some scripts straight up had shaming rituals for in-game characters that misgendered other characters.
Best part is, while Tosh is pounding that snake's nose, she's still holding the ruby in her other hand.
Oh,
Ah, shit. They're still holding it. Sorry. So, when one of us screws up and we know we've screwed up, we do a quick 10 to put it right.
What are you, retarded?
If you check Twitter and Reddit for some reason, there are a decent amount of posts asking how gamers can be so cruel as to celebrate when games fail, studios close, and developers get laid off. It's because those same developers have spent the last decade trying to force us out of our own hobby. They call us badass names like chuds, all sorts of ists and foes when we don't just suck their beautiful female penises and support their bad games with their time and money. This is why when you see the McDonald's meme on Twitter when former Bungie employees look for sympathy on Twitter after they get laid off, these same people would piss on our graves if given the chance. So I don't feel bad when they lose their job because they made a bad game. The ones getting laid off are talentless hacks who would be laughing just as hard were I to lose my job. Let them poison some other industry. The only decent games modern developers can release are remakes or remasters of games made by the people they replaced. And sometimes they screw those up as well. The third reason we need an industry collapse is cost. Not the cost to develop games, the rising cost to customers. On both the console and PC side of things, we've seen numerous price increases on everything related to gaming hardware. Xbox Series S and X have received 3 price increases so far. The PS5 has received 2. The former value king of handheld PC gaming, the Steam Deck, got a $300 price increase, putting it directly in the price range of all the handhelds it was severely undercutting, including the Switch 2. With the black hole of AI data center memory needs, consoles are now going in the opposite direction of what we're used to. Aging hardware is actually getting more expensive. If the rumors are true, Sony intends to launch the PS6 late 2027 at over a $1,000 MSRP. The point of entry into the latest of gaming is out of reach for most people at that price point. It's not as exciting, but if someone who hasn't played any video games for a few years asked me what they should get, I would tell them to get a used PS4. Or a used PS5 if the price is right. The value to play the latest titles is diminishing more and more. I was 11 years old when I regularly saw brand new GameCubes on clearance at the Walmart for $60. Excellent game selection, healthy used market. A kid could get years of great memories with their allowance or paper route money at that price. I'm now a grown-ass, large, independent black man. I work full-time in my trade, and I can't possibly justify $1,000 for my personal entertainment. If my children ever really get into video games, it'll be on the PS2 that's hooked up downstairs. And they'll love it, just like I did when I was a fetus. The final and maybe biggest reason we need a video game industry crash is we need to get back to square one. Customers have become too comfortable getting fingered in the ass by these big publishers, pushing never-ending anti-consumer trash. They need to be reminded that they exist not only to make money, but also to serve their customers. Video game publishers have gotten so comfortable putting out poor quality games and getting rewarded for it. They continue to hire incompetent developers that deliberately make decisions to piss their player base off. The indie scene has somehow figured out how to make highly successful games with small teams, sometimes even just one person. $200 million budgets with teams nearing 1,000 people in some cases is completely unnecessary, and self-indulgent to the extreme. That stupid Sonic meme from a few years ago is becoming more and more accurate as time goes on. I want shorter games with worse graphics made by people who are paid more to work less, and I'm not kidding. I know I'm not the only one who's sick and tired of unoptimized, overly decadent games that take 6 years to develop, and expects their player base to check in every day for the next few years to complete the battle pass. Not every game needs a bigger map than ever before with a massive checklist of boring tasks to check off. You don't need 30 HR employees constantly hovering over the writer's room to make sure there's no fun going on. Hiring 3 or more different diversity and inclusion firms to make sure your game is completely bland and sanitized is a massive waste of money. That wasted money balloons budgets, and higher budgets cost your customers more money for a worse product. I know it sounds cruel, but several thousand jobs need to be cut in this industry. The entire thing has become a behemoth that can barely sustain itself, let alone pivot their strategies when things aren't working. Sony's a great example of this. They are doubling down on chasing the next live service hit, despite every one of their live service endeavors being failures. There aren't enough players on the planet to support 15 different Fortnite-level live service games. The video game industry needs a crash at this point. We need to get back to passionate developers making games for their actual audience, push back the infestation of people that hate video games in positions of power, and make sure to support the indie and AA developers that are still out there making the games that we love. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.